You know that feeling you're watching a game, it's basically over, and then, out of nowhere, one team snatches victory from the jaws of defeat. How does that happen? What's the difference between a total collapse and a truly legendary comeback? Well, it's not just about luck or skill, it's deep psychology. And today we're going to dive into the fascinating science behind the ultimate athletic turnaround. Just imagine it for a second. You're out there. It's match point against you. The pressure is just crushing. Every single instinct in your body is screaming that it's over. So what is it? What allows some athletes to stare right into that abyss and not just hang on, but actually thrive and turn the entire thing on its head? That's the big question we're here to answer. To really get our heads around a comeback, sports psychologists talk about two absolutely crucial forces. And I think the best way to think about them is like a warrior's essential gear. First up, you've got resilience. That's your shield. It's your defense against despair, against panic. And then you've got momentum. That's your sword. That's the weapon you use to start fighting back. And here's the thing. You absolutely need both to win the battle. Okay, so let's start with that shield, resilience. It's really the invisible foundation of every single great comeback. It's this psychological armor that literally keeps an athlete in the game when everything, and I mean everything, is going wrong. It's what stops that final fatal collapse. Now, what's really key here is how researchers define this. They don't see resilience as some fixed trait, like you're just born tough. No, they see it as a dynamic process. It's all about actively adapting in a positive way when you're hit with massive amounts of stress. And that's huge because it means resilience is a skill you can build, not just a gift you're born with. So what does this psychological armor actually look like up close? Well, when you study elite athletes, a few key things pop up again and again. It all starts with this bedrock of self-confidence, a deep, unshakable belief in your own abilities. Then there's intense focus, that ability to just block out the crowd, the score, everything, and focus only on the next play. And crucially, it also comes from having strong social support, your team, your coaches, and using mental tricks of the trade, like pre-shot routines or visualizing success to stay completely grounded. I absolutely love this quote from the researchers Sarkar and Fletcher. They call resilience ordinary magic. And that just nails it, doesn't it? It's not some superhuman power reserved for the few. It's a fundamental human capacity to bounce back that's inside all of us. And it can lead to some truly extraordinary results. All right, so your shield of resilience has kept you in the fight. You haven't collapsed, but now you need to go on the offensive. You need your sword, momentum. This is that tipping point. You can feel it in the air, right? It's that palpable shift in energy, the spark that transforms a desperate defense into a totally unstoppable attack. And this brings us to one of the all-time great debates in sports, the hot hand. You know what I'm talking about, a basketball player who just can't miss a shot, or a striker who buries it in the net every time they touch the ball. For decades, scientists and statisticians argued back and forth. Is this a real phenomenon, or just us seeing patterns in random luck? Well, the answer to that actually helps us understand what momentum really is. So here's the deal. Research shows us that we have to separate momentum into two different things. First, there's what you might call strategic momentum. That's just the objective reality, the score, the game clock. But the one that's way more powerful is psychological momentum. That's the internal thing, the subjective experience, that powerful feeling that you are in control and that things are finally going your way. And that's the absolute heart of it. Psychological momentum, as researchers like Bricky and Markman have shown, isn't really about the scoreboard. It's all about the perceived feeling of progress. It's the belief, deep down, that you are moving closer to your goal. And that belief, it changes absolutely everything about how you perform. And this is where it all comes together. This is the magic. How does the shield of resilience suddenly light up the sword of momentum? This connection is the chain reaction at the core of every single legendary comeback, where defense miraculously transforms into offense. So the secret sauce seems to be an idea from psychology called prospect theory, and all it really says is that our attitude about risk isn't fixed. When we're behind, when we're in what scientists call the domain of losses, we feel like we have less to lose, right? Our whole psychology shifts, and we become much more willing to take those big chances needed for a comeback, like going for that impossible shot down the line. And this just lays out the whole process perfectly. Okay, step 1. Adversity strikes. You're down, but instead of panicking, your resilience kicks in. That's your shield. You stay focused. That allows your mindset to shift.
you start taking smarter risks. Then, boom, a small success. You hit one amazing shot, you win one crucial point. And that's the spark. That one tiny success ignites the feeling of progress. And suddenly, you've got psychological momentum. The sword is drawn.
Now, the really beautiful thing about this whole framework is that it doesn't just apply to sports. Not at all. This is basically a blueprint for overcoming adversity in any part of your life, whether it's a huge project at work, a personal challenge you're facing, or some long-term goal you're trying to reach.
So how can you build your own comeback mindset? Well, the research gives us a pretty clear roadmap. Build that real, robust self-confidence, not through wishful thinking, but through hardcore preparation. Create routines for yourself before a big meeting or a tough conversation to anchor your focus when the pressure is on. You have to consciously reframe setbacks not as threats, but as interesting challenges to solve. And finally, practicing mindfulness can help you manage that first wave of stress so you can respond thoughtfully instead of just reacting.
When you think about it, every setback, big or small, presents us with the same choice that athlete faces down 4-1 in the final set. Do you collapse or do you begin a comeback? That ordinary magic of resilience is what keeps you in the game, long enough to find an opening. And that first small step forward is all it takes to ignite your momentum. So the only question left is, how are you going to start yours?